Hey guys, it's Christmas Eve. So why don't we start with a couple Christmas facts for you. Did you know that Santa Claus originated in a newspaper ad? He first appeared as a recognizable entity in a newspaper ad for toys and gift books in the mid-19th century. That's the 1800s. Another fun fact, the song, We Wish You a Merry Christmas, was originally a threat. The ever-popular song was originally sung loudly and repeatedly by crowds of rowdy, lower-class servants demanding booze from their masters. Or else, i.e., they won't leave till they get their booze. Booze has always been an important part of Christmas, and you know I'm here to keep it going.
Who's a fat boy?
Podcast Fat Boy.
Guys, we are here at episode 49 of Podcast Fat Boy. I can't believe it. I promised you that I would get to episode 50 by the end of this year. That means I got to do one more episode, be a bit more of a New Year's themed one, because it'll be the last one of 2019, the last one of the teens, of the knots, the aughts, whatever the fuck it is. I'm so sick of it. Can't wait to talk about the 20s. Can't wait to take Podcast Fat Boy into the next decade. And for the rest of my life, I'll be able to refer to these decades as the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. God, I hope the 50s. The 50s. Can you imagine? It's going to be a roaring good time. And it is Christmas Eve. I thought I'd come at you guys with a little, I'm going to try and not do too long of an episode today. Just talking about the holidays a little bit. It's a hard time of year for people, especially if you're trying to be fit. You're eating saturated fat. On the last episode, I told you how many advent calendars I have. It's disgusting. I'm a grown man. Should not have that many advent calendars. And then you're constantly eating charcuterie. You're constantly eating meat. You're constantly feeling heavy. But you know what? I've nipped it in the bud this year, my friends. Because when I'm done this podcast tonight, I'm going to go run down to that bike. I'm going to throw on a hot 30, do a little cardio, and it'll be my third day in a row now. Going into Christmas, with 3 days, I'm working out. I'm going for long walks. I'm doing whatever I can. I'm not just going to sit here and eat and drink and do nothing. I'm going to do a little differently this year. So I'm going to try and work out on Christmas. I implore you to also work out on Christmas. Even if it's just a little one, just do something. Do some planks before you go down for dinner. Go for a walk. Because we're getting to that stage, and it's for a health podcast, a pseudo health podcast, as I like to call this one, because I don't really do the research. I try to keep to the good sites. The good news sites that you trust, but what do you trust anymore? What's fake news? I don't even know. Those Christmas facts that I gave you, they might not be true. I don't know. All I know about Christmas and Santa Claus is that the last memory I have of my parents together before they divorced was the three of us watching the 10 Commandments on our couch. And my mom somehow squeezed in the fact that there wasn't a Santa Claus. She mentioned it very casually. Has nothing to do with Santa. Maybe it was because Charlton Heston in the movie looked like Santa Claus a little bit. And she just thought subconsciously, oh, this is a good time to slip in that Santa's not real. I probably believed in Santa Claus a little bit too long. Not afraid to admit that. I was really holding out hope that he was real. And I avoided any kind of talk that he wasn't. I don't even know how it is today. I didn't have internet when I was a kid and believed in Santa Claus. Now I feel like when they're 6, they'll read that in the paper. They'll read that on some Facebook post or something. What's even the point? Let's pick a new thing. Something that maybe is real, that does come to your house and deliver gifts. That's right. Maybe we should build up the postmen a little bit instead of sicking our dogs on them, getting them to bite their tushies. They are the real Santa Clauses. The delivery people for the mail service, whatever country you're in. But, you know, I guess I should just get to a fitness update.
Fitness update.
Now, I will not jump on the scale until next week. We'll see post holiday weight where I'm at. I don't want to do it right now because I know that I'm probably not going to be too happy with it, but I'm going to try to keep working out every day and seeing if it at least keeps my weight to where it was around 217. Okay. But a pound away from where I started this podcast 6 years ago. 6 years. This is a ridiculous thing. I'm glad that, you know, people aren't paying to listen to this for health benefits. I always think if I went back into personal training and had clients and was like, well, you should follow my podcast. It's a weight loss podcast. I've been trying to lose weight for 6 years, and I'm just trying to get back to the weight I was at the beginning now. That's where the goal has shifted. But as far as the fitness update, I'm feeling okay. You know, the darkest day of the year is behind us. It will only get more light now, and that is something to look forward to because it is tough. As much as I crave the cold winter, once it's here, I hate it, and that's just how it goes for being in Canada, you know? So, yeah, you know, don't be too hard on yourselves this holiday season. You know, I know it's easier said than done, but it's just, this is the time of year where you're just supposed to feel like absolute shit. So, you know, kind of wiggle around in it and see what it does for you.
Please hang up and try again.
Fitness news.
Really should change it to like health news because it's like, you know, fitness is kind of a dumb word. But the one thing I want to talk about today, I've got a couple of topics for fitness news. One of them is anti-inflammatory diets, why we should partake. You know, I think a lot of foods that we are supposed to eat are anti-inflammatory. It's not that difficult. It's really just keeping stuff out of your diet, which is the hardest thing for me. You know, it's a type of diet that consists of foods that reduce the inflammatory responses. And this diet involves like replacing sugary refined foods with whole, nutrient-rich foods. Pretty easy said and done. Found a great thing on medicalnewstoday.com. So let's just go through, you know, people with arthritis or asthma or colitis, diabetes, IBS, heart disease. This is the kind of diet for you. People with lupus. I know that's a big one. Usually affects women, I think, lupus. Foods to eat, dark leafy greens. It's like the same stuff, guys. Dark leafy greens, blueberries, blackberries, nutrition-dense vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower, lentils, beans, green tea, red wine in moderation. Yes, sir. Avocado, coconut, olives, extra virgin olive oil, manja cake, walnuts, pine nuts, almonds, pistachio nuts, salmon, sardines, dark chocolate. These are the type of foods. Don't forget cinnamon. That's always good in your coffee. These are the foods that are good. They're very anti-inflammatory. But again, what do you avoid? Processed meats, sugary drinks, trans fats and fried foods, white bread, white pasta, gluten, soybean oil, vegetable oil, processed snack foods like chips and crackers. And don't you forget desserts like cookies, candy, and ice cream. Excess alcohol. See, this is a tough time of year to avoid that. And too many carbs. So if you can avoid all that and then, you know, keep the things that I said, that the foods that you should eat, then you are doing an anti-inflammatory diet. And I'm thinking about trying it. I feel like I've definitely have some things on that list that are inflamed, and that's not good for the body. When your body's starting to feel a little inflamed, and someone like my mom, she's just like, her body's on fire with inflammatory issues. She's like, just had Christmas with her, and she, really bad heartburn. This is something that she should do. You think she will? Should I start a poll? Probably not going to do it, but maybe I'll share this with her and get her on the right track, just like all of us. Just like bloody all of us. Next thing to talk about, what people like to do? They like to work out outside, especially in nice places like Los Angeles, California. But here's the problem. The air pollution is getting so bad. It's so bad that people now are buying air quality monitors for their home and for outside, so they can see what the quality's like in their house, what the quality's like outside. And it's not just from the smog from factories and cars and whatnot. There's a lot of air pollution now because of all the wildfires out there. And you can't even really see it, but it's really adding to the pollution levels out there. And people are starting to freak out because this is kind of like the new normal out there. This is just like another reason why I don't want to go to LA ever. Yeah, the air is so bad, apparently. And is this like, I see people in downtown Toronto running down the streets, running down Lakeshore when there's 6 lines of traffic beside them. Just, it's not, I never like working out outside that much because I just know it's not healthy. It's not healthy for you to breathe heavy. Don't breathe heavy outside ever. Okay. You go inside if you got to breathe heavy. Okay. Is this going to be the new normal? Are we all going to be wearing the masks? Are we going to be looking at the air quality and staying inside so that we don't go outside when it's bad because we could give us asthma or lung disease? It's a whole thing with climate change, man. All this shit we're constantly putting in the air. It's going to fuck us up. But we'll just adjust. We'll adjust to it without dealing with the problem, right? So I think that you're going to see a lot less people working out outside. It's going to be, and I feel like working out is a pretty indoor thing. Most, a lot of people play sports inside, but I think that if we don't do something about the environment, you won't just see people running outside with masks on. You won't see them at all. Okay, guys, we're in the last segment. I am trying to get through this. I'm going to try and keep it to a tight 20 because it is Christmas Eve. I got to get on that exercise bike, and then I got to start eating some brie or having a rum and eggnog or something. These are all things I'm craving, but I'd like to, burn calories first and get extra hungry. So I just stick the whole wheel of brie into my gullet, and I don't plan on chewing tonight. I don't plan on chewing any of the snacks or food over the next couple of days. And that's just the way it's going to be. So now we've got some other shit we got to talk about. Apple, the company Apple, they're offering genetic testing for their employees. Have you heard about this? Now, there's 2 things I'm concerned about. One, okay, let's do the positive one first. This is kind of cool that they're offering free genetic testing so they can look in your DNA and say, well, look what's hiding out in here. This is going to get you eventually, pal. Maybe you want to do something to prevent it or delay it or whatnot. Now that is the future of health. I think that is always the best way to avoid all these major diseases is to prevent them or to catch them super early. Now, the other problem is, especially with tech companies and privacy, would they be looking at that when they're like, having to have an employee review or something like that? Maybe they won't say it, but they will look at that genetic test and they'll kind of ballpark how long they're going to be alive or useful. You know, like, because tech companies are pretty bad. Now, Apple is, you know, they really try to say that, you know, we protect your data and we don't take this or that. But that would be a worry for me. But I'd also, that's you know, it's like when people get tested for Huntington's and stuff. It's like, that's a hard test to do. Because maybe you don't want to know. Do you guys know what you want to do with something like that? Because I don't. I think part of me does. It's like, if it's bad, I'd be like, Doc, could you just like, I don't know, roll your eyes or something? Or just like do a deep sigh and be like, just enjoy your life. I got one more thing I want to talk to you about before I let you go. I want to talk about humidifiers. Something on CTV News about it. I use a humidifier, and I have for years, because my wife was told by her doctor that if you live in a cold climate in the winter, you should have a humidifier. Now there's an article about it in CTV. In addition to hand washing and vaccinations, Canadians may want to consider investing in a humidifier to keep the flu at bay. Dry indoor air is bad for humans. Dr. Stephanie Taylor, a Harvard medical medical school lecturer, pediatric oncologist, and molecular biologist said, dry indoor air fosters the presence of more infectious bacterial viruses. And they also found that children who were in properly humidified classrooms, the flu-related sick days dropped by 66%. That's pretty substantial. God, so you're supposed to keep your humidity to 40 to 60%. And because I had the flu. You know, I had the flu a few weeks ago in November, a month ago, 2 months ago. Jesus, it was terrible. If that's one way you can prevent it, if it really is that bad, this dry air is so bad. Get a humidifier. You don't have to get an expensive one. It just might save you from being on the toilet for several hours. You know what I mean? Guys, have a Merry Christmas. I will come back one more episode. We'll recap, see how I do over these next few days. 2020 coming up.